Yep, absolutely. Let's get to some super chats here. Buddy checks in. What's up, buddy? $5. Thank you, man. He says, J-Mac, is it more important for a QB to be elite in the regular season or the postseason? Hurts versus Herbert.
No, I don't want to go down the quarterback evaluation route. The most important thing, because again, football is not in a vacuum. You're not playing each other as quarterbacks. You're not playing with the same supporting cast. So the true greatness, and to me, the modern generation is defined by two different guys, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, is defined by week to week consistency, week to week to week to week consistency. Playing at a high level in week one, playing a high level in the Super Bowl, if you can, and that's not possible. But the more consistent greatness, those are the best quarterbacks.
Yeah, but there is still a premium on winning the big games, no?
Of course, but there's 46 on game day, 47, depending on the year of the rule.
Right. No, I get
There's
that.
other
I'm
guys helping
wrong,
you. There's other guys helping you on the field. Nobody says any other position, oh, he won the Super Bowl. I bring it up all the time. Who were the two most dominant players on defense in the Super Bowl? Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. But I can say Myles Garrett, who's on a shitty team, is better than Josh Sweat, and everybody goes, yeah, of course, dummy. Why would you have to say that? I don't know. Why don't you gauge edge rushers the same as you do quarterbacks?
Well,
that's a question to ask yourself, not
but
me.
There is some gray area there. The quarterback's more important. Touches the ball every single play.
Yeah. You know? All right. So it's the starting pitcher. I could say somebody throws an 8-inning shutout, the World Series. That might be more important than quarterback. Is he better than Sandy Koufax in his prime? Probably
no, but if you give not. 6 runs in the first 2 innings, you're fucked.
But yeah. But consistent greatness, for some reason, people cannot take quarterback out and look at it in an objective fashion. I guess Tom Brady broke people. I don't know. But there are plenty of great quarterbacks who haven't won, Dan Marino being at the top of that list probably, and you can throw in all the middling quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl, and even certain guys who won 2, like Eli Manning and Jim Plunkett, notably. Anybody out there think they're better than Dan Marino? Because if you do, you don't know a damn thing about football.
I don't think anybody thinks they're better than Dan Marino. That's right. I think what you're saying makes some sense, but I do think there's another element that people add in, maybe more so than you add in, which is fine. Everybody's going to have a different evaluation, but they put a premium on showing up in the postseason. We had Mike North on last week on the Cilio show, who's been, talking sports for 40 years in Chicago. And you'd actually love some of his takes because holy shit, he eviscerated the Chicago Bears organization, the McCaskies, Ryan Poles. I mean, you name it. He eviscerated them all. But, he gave a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts because he's like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing how great every quarterback is. And then they get to the playoffs and they don't fucking do shit. I mean, Lamar Jackson's got one of the best teams in football. He can't beat Mahomes in the postseason.
I can't. Do you think if Jalen Hurts was in fucking Chicago with that disaster of an organization, he'd have a Super Bowl?
Well, no.
Because he wouldn't. Do you think Jalen Hurts would have a Super Bowl in Carolina? Nor would anybody else.
No, but
from Tom Brady on down. It's not quarterback versus quarterback.
I know that, John, but there's
quarterback.
It still has to shift a little bit of your evaluation.
You're asking me about Mike North from Chicago bitching about the Chicago Bears.
No. I brought up Lamar. I just said he was a Chicago guy. But
then he
was talking about Lamar in the playoffs. He's not.
He's seen decades of bad quarterback play in Chicago, who haven't had a good quarterback since Sid freaking Luckman. And, maybe you have Jim McMahon for a year, and even he's a manager, a game manager. It's been a quarterback shithole. And that's why, You feel bad for a little bit, and Caleb Williams. My God. I'm not picking on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a very good player. Very good player. Perfect fit for this team. The Eagles have built this thing perfectly for Jalen Hurts, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take advantage of the strengths of the players you have. But to sit there and act like football is played in a vacuum and act like Jalen Hurts is better than insert name of quarterback, whoever you want, and they don't even play each other. They're not even on the field. He wasn't playing against Patrick Mahomes. Does anybody want to say, and we're an Eagles show, so I'm sure there's plenty of people. On one day in February, Jalen Hurts was a hell of a lot better than Patrick Mahomes. Is he better as an overall quarterback? Probably not. In fact, there's 2 days in February where he was better because he was better in the Super Bowl they lost, in my opinion. But that doesn't make him a better quarterback over a long stretch of time than Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't. Also, football is one game. And the Eagles really fucking played well on one day.
Yeah, I still think there's a premium on those one games, but I get what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just that. I agree with that. We'll see. Let's move on here. Jay Perfect checking in, member for 8 months. Thank you, brother, for being a member. He says, what is the biggest weakness with this roster out of all 22 positions? Is it safety, right guard, etc.? Jay, if you haven't been here all summer, I think you'll know. If you've been here at all this summer, you'll know where Johnny Mack is going here. John, your response to Jay, maybe he hasn't been here.
Well, it depends if you're talking about the starters, that's different than the overall position. But the overall position I'm most concerned about is edge rusher.
Yeah.
Even more so than safety. Because I think again, we talked about impact with quarterbacks, and it's a more impact. You need an edge rusher. You need a big pass. Part of the Eagles' success, not part of it, the vast majority of their success in the Super Bowl was their pass rush. That set up everything else, and everything else fell into place because of that. It's a very important part of this team's philosophy and identity and all that kind of stuff. So I'm most concerned about that position. If you're talking about individual players, who's the worst starter? It's going to be between Tyler Steen and Keely Ringo and maybe Sidney Brown. And then it's just, I would think of that group, it's probably between, you can make a case for any of them. It's all projection with Ringo and Brown. With Steen, I'm probably higher on those guys, but it's about the unknown than Steen. I've seen Steen play enough, but then you can make an argument for Steen and say, Jeff Stoutland believes in him.
Yeah, that's why I can't sound the alarm on Steen yet, John, because I just believe in Jeff Stoutland at this point. I mean, you've read off his accolades yesterday. They're fucking insane. They're insane. He's going to have multiple Hall of Fame offensive linemen.
And he did the same thing with Isaac Seumalo back in the day. He struggled, and then all of a sudden, Isaac turned into a really good player.
Yeah.
So, but if you're asking me personally, I don't see it yet with Tyler. And I think Keely certainly has a bigger upside, and even Sidney has a bigger upside. So, but that's uncertainty. Those guys haven't been able to show it. And, there's always a positive and there's always a negative. And the negative is they could shit the bed. So, but there's concerns at all those positions. Overall, though, the position I'm most concerned about is edge rusher.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jay, perfect. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. One more super chat here. We'll get to our break and get the BLG coming up. Prince checks in $10. Thank you, Prince. I'm sorry, J-Mac, but you have been off lately. The question is it important to be elite in regular season or postseason pressure moments when other players
You're off.
Up?
Again,
now here's some big words.
You're off. I don't have to argue your premise because your premise is dumb. Why would I argue a dumb premise if you don't understand the evaluation of football players. I don't care what your premise is. That I'm not off. You just can't open your mind to what I'm saying because you have it in your mind that you want your favorite quarterback to be the best because he's won the Super Bowl. Your quarterback is very good. Is he the best quarterback in football? Not one personnel person in the NFL would say that. Even the Eagles, if they're being honest. Not one. Not one. Quarterbacks do not win Super Bowls by themselves. Nick Sirianni said that when he was defending Jalen Hurts. There is not a quarterback in the history of football that has won a Super Bowl without a good supporting cast. The flip side of that is there is not a quarterback in the history of football that can win with a bad supporting cast. I don't have to argue dumb premises. I don't accept your premise.
So how do you personally gauge Jalen Hurts, who's delivered 2 big games in the Super Bowls? I'm not pushing back. I'm just genuinely asking how you evaluate.
I've said it consistently. He's a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He is not.
But do you put zero premium on performances in those types of games versus the performances from week in and week out in the regular season?
I don't. When you're great, when you're truly great, you hit that consistent level, you're having good performances throughout the regular season as well. So it takes care of itself. When you reach the truly elite level, like I always say, well, over our longevity, consistency, it's Tom and Peyton. But I always say, the player that has played at his highest peak, no one has ever played the position better than Aaron Rodgers at his peak. When he was playing at his optimal level, nobody's ever played the position better. But then longevity comes into it, all of that. Peyton Manning, he's only got 2, and I always joke, in the second one, he had nothing to do with. He was at the end of his career. He wasn't even a good quarterback at that point. So how do you explain that? How do you explain that? The guy that great for all those years, the guy the Eagles are bringing in to talk to the leadership committee, the guy Jalen Hurts swears by, went to the Manning passing camp, very close to, as one of the, by all definitions, one of the greatest quarterbacks who've ever lived. No matter what you think of him, where you want to put him, how do you explain that? How do you explain that he won at the end of his career when he was not near, when he didn't win at the optimal level? Because other people are involved.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. It's the ultimate team game. I agree with that. I think I happen to think it's a gray area. I think you're right. And I think Prince is right in a way, too. I think it falls in the middle, to be honest with you. I think objective people like yourself maybe discount a little bit too much somebody having great success when the lights are the brightest and your team needs you to be the best. And then I think maybe fans like me and Prince probably put too much stock if they have won great Super Bowl and they do get that Super Bowl. I think it's a gray area. I think it falls in the middle.
Well, I don't think Eli Manning should be anywhere near the Hall of Fame. He's got 2. I don't think Jim Plunkett should be anywhere near the Hall of Fame. He's got 2.
Yeah, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is those guys.
No, I think Jalen Hurts
Manning's like a career 50-50 quarter. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and that's a team.
I don't. I'm just talking about because everybody's born like that. Now I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm talking about Super Bowl wins. You guys are the ones who moved the goalpost. Those guys won multiple Super Bowls because of great supporting cast. And, to Eli's credit specifically, he played well in big time moments. He's probably the better example. because he turned in to be very clutch in big time moments. And by the way, by no stretch, Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback than Eli Manning. So please don't get that conflated. But he is a guy who didn't, was very inconsistent, good quarterback. Not, I'm not trying to downplay him, was a good quarterback, but he was inconsistent. Nowhere near it. No point in his career was he even near the top 5 in the quarterback rankings that are meaningless, but either way, nowhere near it. As you mentioned, 500 quarterback, but he had 2 great runs in the playoffs where he played very well and he played very big in big spots. That doesn't change my evaluation of him. He's an above average quarterback.
I think Jalen meant more to his team though than Eli did.
All right. Thank God BLG is here.
Let's get a few more supers. Prince, thank you, dude. You got it all fired up here today. All right, let me read one more. Jonathan says, "Don't worry, J-Mac. Some of us still think you're the Bob. Go Birds. Appreciate it." JD3 says, "Herbert stinks." That's pretty funny. Sasha says, "Knowing how Howie operates, if he were to make a move before the season opener, what would be the area you assume he would try to approve?"
Edge.
Edge. Yeet, there you go. And then Ty Banks. What's up, Ty? "What position battle is most interesting? Cornerback, safety, defensive end, right guard?" Probably cornerback.
There is no competition at right guard, so that's not interesting at all. Edge defender, there's no real competition because Ojulari and Uche are not competing for that first team, at least yet. So to me, the most intriguing is Brown against Bakuba, because I think Sydney's not a fit, but I think he's a better player right now. So it's interesting to me how Vic will handle that. Will he pound the square peg because he wants that style of safety, or will he, say, all right, Sydney deserves it. Let me build the defense tweak the defense, not build it, tweak the defense to better take advantage of what he does best.
Good stuff there. Great stuff. Appreciate everybody for checking in today. Appreciate all the super chats. Don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. We got a good crowd in here today, as always.